Buying a farm sounds like a dream, right? Fresh air, land, freedom. Misconception about what is real and what's not. They basically said that I couldn't do any of the stuff that I was trying to do. I'm Cody Cooper. When I bought my farm, I learned real quick the brutal reality of the cost, the hard work, and all the surprises that would come along with it. It's hard for me to even talk much about it. So what does it really take to survive running a farm like this? The biggest nightmare of the whole process. And would I do it all over again if I knew the truth? Things happen on the farm, so every day, morning and afternoon, I'm checking on all my animals, at least putting eyes on them and making sure that they're healthy, they're safe. I was gonna do the dewormer for the cows today. I've got them on hay right now. So they're in the back pasture only, just to let the rest of the pasture recover. It's been a little bit dry, so we need some rain. But I have 4 pastures that I rotate them through. And the back pasture is smaller, so they eat that down pretty quick, so I just put them on round bales. Right now, the hardest chore that I'm doing on a daily basis is clearing trees. We're clearing a big section of pasture because the previous owners had let everything overgrow. So every little sapling, pine sapling, they let it grow instead of keeping it under control. So we've lost a lot of pasture to just the trees. So we're clearing a bunch of sections so we can grow grass back and get more pasture back for the animals. So that's kind of an ongoing project. I've got a big section that we're in the middle of clearing right now. Our zoning and permitting was the biggest nightmare of the whole process. So I'll try to make this story quick. When we first moved in, we bought it. It was a horse farm for 25 years. Previous owners had chickens, goats, everything that we have, except for the cattle. And it was built as a horse farm. So for 25 years, it operated as a farm. So we just started operations and started doing everything as if that's what it was. The county showed up. They were giving me citations for a bunch of different stuff. They basically said that I couldn't do any of the stuff that I was trying to do. I couldn't have my cattle, I couldn't have chickens, couldn't have goats, couldn't, all these things, couldn't have my shipping container for our storage for all of our equipment. You're zoned as residential, not as agricultural, so you can't do any of these things. Previous owners had flown under the radar. The biggest thing was getting rezoned so that whatever I had to do to keep my animals. It is relaxing for me. Sometimes when I go down and take care of the chickens and goats or the cows here, I do hang out for a little bit and just get to enjoy time with them. But it's not always work. It's peaceful back here, even though it's shit. What's my least favorite? That's a tough one. Maybe mowing. I used to enjoy it more. I don't feel as productive though, because that takes a full day. The areas where I don't mow the pastures anymore, obviously, but there's areas where I got to keep it cleaned up around the property. Yeah, there's days where I just have too much going on, or I have an event coming up. I just have to work, right up until dinner. And then after I put the kids to bed, I got to get back at it. There's just certain responsibilities that happen, or things come up. There's been times when trees come down on fences and it can take me a full day to get that tree cleared and the fence repaired. Being able to run events and Airbnb and all that kind of stuff was going to be secondary. I had to do whatever I could as quickly as possible. I had 30 days really to get our applications in and everything ready to get rezoned. Misconception about what is real and what's not. There's a lot of social, like gardening influencers and things like that have it down. What you see a lot of is peak season, right? When things are blossoming and things are doing great. But what you don't see enough of is at times when powdery mildew takes over several garden beds and you have to cut everything back to get rid of it and you lose a lot of crop. We want to keep everything organic as much as possible. So that's been the struggle, is how do we do it naturally? How do you prevent disease and get rid of bugs? That's the reality of what gardening is. So when people say, I failed at gardening so much, how do you do so well? I'm like, we're failing too. Like, we fail at this all the time. Let's just try all the things that we're interested in. Let's try to see what's feasible and see what works for us. So we planted it all. First season, we kind of cut back a little bit to now, but it's the time that it takes to kind of keep it, to stay on top of it and just do your best. What advice I would give someone wanting to do this, because I get the question a lot online, and it's unfortunately I've gotten to the point where I can't answer that question. People want me to help them get it going, and I'd love to support and help someone do something like this. But every scenario is different, right? So I can't give someone the blueprints and say, this is how I did it. It's gonna work for you over here. The middle of the pasture here has been completely overgrown. We leave all the big oaks But all these little pines over the years, previous owners never cut them down. They just let all the saplings turn into 20-foot trees. So a lot of the pines were taken down. We're gonna chip them up. I've got all these piles all over the place. I'll bring in a wood chipper and we'll spread these chips out in these areas of pasture that were overgrown, which will then become organic matter to go back into the soil to help in the future, help regrow grass and have a really good solid pasture for the cows. Decided to go get rezoned as RUD, which is rural area development, which would give us similar privileges for our animals and also allow us to later apply as an event venue. It's one step below agricultural. We don't have quite as much flexibility there, but because of where we are, I knew it was going to be a better chance of making that happen. Fortunately, the county council was amazing. They saw the opportunity that we saw. They saw that this could be a great asset to the county, so they approved our rezoning for that. Bought the property. I negotiated in the tractor to come with it. That was when I knew that was gonna be my first big cost. I knew I wanted to have right away, and I've used my tractor so much. I mean, it's my number one piece of equipment that I use for everything. That's because it was used. I had to have some work done to it right away, but so there's a little expense there. I had a lot of tools coming into this. Done a lot of this stuff on a smaller scale before. It's not a huge farm where I need a ton of, I'm not baling hay, I'm not, harvesting crops. And that's where a lot of the big expenses come in for farms, is when you start doing that kind of stuff. For me, my tractor, my side-by-side, those two pieces right there are the biggest expenses that I knew coming into it that I was gonna want right away.
But we begin tonight with the spiraling emergency after Hurricane Helene, the mounting death toll, at least 182 lives lost, hundreds still unaccounted for.
When the hurricane hit this area, we lost a whole section of our forest, so all of that had to get cut up, and then we spent a lot of time helping out up in the mountains as well, so my chainsaw has definitely been worked for the past year that we've been here. Equipment breaks down, it's just an ongoing expense that you have to take care of. I mean, a few weeks ago I flipped my tractor. Dumbass mistake, had the bucket too high when I was turning on a hill. Flipping that, I had to take the engine apart and clean it out. It's pretty consistent. There's always something, a mower, a tractor, a chainsaw, something that's breaking down, but it's all stuff we can manage. The farm had been pretty neglected, so there's a lot of repairs that I wanted to do, both in the house and on the land. So fixing up some of the driveway, the barn, painting the barn, all those things. But then the next big step was to get our space ready for what we really wanted to do here, was redoing the courts. So building the pickleball court, basketball court, the whole outdoor fitness space, everything there was really what took up the most, probably the biggest chunk of time. And I decided to do it on my own instead of hiring a crew. I got quoted like $20,000. I saved myself a lot of money. It still cost like $5,000 for me to do it on my own with the materials, but obviously saved myself a ton of money. It's not a profitable farm where it can just fund all the projects and all the repairs that need to happen. So the more I can do things myself, the more money we're going to save and the more we're going to be able to invest back into the farm as well. Once I got the rezoned, then I was trying to do everything else simultaneously with Airbnb, the event venue, our home occupation. So we really wanted to make sure we had everything permitted correctly and not have anyone think that we're trying to cut any corners. Like we want to do it by the books. We want to make sure that this is something that can be sustainable and that couldn't get shut down, that we can continue to operate and do it the right way. And fortunately, we were able to get all the permits we wanted to be able to do that. Some people may look at this and be like, oh, this guy bought a farm not knowing what he's doing. I mean, I'm pretty handy with a lot of things anyways. I did spend some time on a farm growing up. I know, basics of mechanics. I know how to run a chainsaw. I know how, I grew up a builder as well. So I've done remodeling of houses. I've done other things. So coming into this, I knew I had the ability to do some stuff. There's like flipping the tractor and having to take the engine apart. I've never done that before. But when I looked it up and saw how to fix it, how to clean out the cylinders, I was able to follow the instructions to do it because I've taken apart similar engines. I've worked on them a little bit here and there. So, but I'm also not, a good and a bad thing, my wife would probably say, but I'm not afraid to try shit. Like, I'll always attempt it myself first before I hire someone to come do it. And sometimes that's gotten me in trouble, but for the most part, it's worked out and allowed me to do the things that I'm doing. So yeah, my biggest supporter through this, and it's hard for me to even talk much about it because I get emotional. It's hard for me to even say it. Yeah, my wife has just been before moving in here, there were some rough patches with my business and some other things going on that my wife was just my rock. And she's been that in so many instances in our lives. So having her support and her seeing the vision that I saw with this meant everything. So without her, I mean, none of this happens without her. I never would have done it if I didn't have her full support. But also just her being willing to take the risk with me, just uproot from Charleston and sell our property there and take that risk coming in here. I mean, I sold my business. We weren't gonna have any revenue right away with this. I mean, we're still, building up to make everything profitable here. And her working extremely hard at her job to help support everything. And it's funny because I get a lot of comments from people that think, that say, oh, he's a rich kid that bought a homestead, or he's, doing it with daddy's money. Things like that I've heard that I just kind of laugh at because it's so far from the truth. But, we worked extremely hard. I mean, building my last business and then selling that to help fund this. But by having my wife who works her ass off and is an amazing doctor to help support this, I mean, that's what is able to make this happen and give us a little bit of a buffer to be able to build the business up enough to be profitable to support itself. That's one of my favorite parts about what we do is we're able to do it together. And I end up being a little bit more the face of the farm, the company, and I'm kind of the crazy one behind the ideas. But she's really the rock that kind of holds it all together as well. And without her, this doesn't happen. So what does it really take to run a farm? And would I do it all over again if I had the chance? Nope.
That wasn't for that question, was it? Or
What?
You said, you asked that
Oh, no. Nope, I said that wrong. That's funny.